guys.
Welcome back.
Yeah, did you miss me?
Did you miss us?
Kinda.
Jameis Winston, that was a good stuff right there. The opening to his presser. We're going to delve into Jameis Winston, Ryan Fitzpatrick as the quarterback turns at One Buc Place. Welcome to A Few Extra Bucs here on pewterpirates.com, the podcast that is growing by the week. I am Mike Nabors. We'd like to thank our title sponsors, House of Brews and Lutz on the corner of Northdale Mabry and Van Dyke, and Sea Dog Brewing Company, two great locations. We appreciate that co-title sponsor as well, and Clearwater and Treasure Island on the beach. Justin Thomas, our esteemed producer, you have brought down, I think, a record amount of sound for this podcast, haven't you?
Just about, yeah. There's a ton of good clips.
I'm still trying to get over the whole Billy Joel, Elton John steamrolling with you and Roy Cummings, the last one. But we have more pop culture references coming up in our 3 and Out segment. Let me bring in my other partner, Roy Cummings, our Buccaneer insider. Let's lead off with the quarterbacks, my friend. And I think you and I, we don't always agree, but I don't understand any notion that Jameis Winston's starting this game. I don't see how it's not Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't care if Dirk Cutter doesn't tell any of us. Dirk, I'm sorry, we know.
Yeah, I think we do know. And you don't, again, I've said this before, you don't bench the best player on your football team. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is still, despite a couple of picks the other night, 3 for those who were keeping track, even though they weren't all his fault. You don't bench your best player. He's still their best player. You don't bench your best player. You don't bench the leading passer in the NFL in terms of yards. You don't bench a guy who's thrown 11 touchdowns against 4 interceptions, one of which was the result of someone running the wrong route. Another was a result of someone tipping a pass because the offensive line wasn't as stout as it has been. You don't bench someone who's completing 70% of his passes. In a downfield scheme, let me emphasize this, fellas, in a downfield scheme in which Dirk Cutter 3 years ago told me at the scouting combine in Indianapolis, Jameis Winston will probably never complete 65% of the passes or more that he throws in my scheme because it's too aggressive. We don't dink and dunk. We throw it downfield. I got 3 guys going deep, and when at least 3 guys going deep, and at least one guy coming across the middle, I want explosive plays. That's what this offense is about. No one. In fact, this question hasn't been asked to Dirk Cutter. Maybe we need to ask it, Mike. Mm-hmm. Has any quarterback that he's ever had run this offense this well? Well, of course, I guess the answer is no, because Ryan Fitzpatrick also, you don't bench, here's the last one, you don't bench the guy who just set an NFL record by throwing for more than 400 yards in 3 consecutive games. That's an NFL record. You don't bench that guy. Even those who believe that, well, he didn't win the other night, I can give you that. That would be the only reason you would even consider it, but you can't consider it. It's real simple. He's the best player on the team. You don't bench the best player on the team.
I couldn't agree more. Let me ask you this, though, because this is what intrigues me about Dirk Cutter. He seems to, I had the Athletics' Greg Allman on my radio show recently, and he gave me kind of an interesting example of Dirk Cutter that he's going to find any kind of edge to get that edge in a game plan. Find that penny with a bunch of money on the floor. He's going to grab that one penny that'll give him the edge, kind of put him over. But along those same lines, all right, when Jameis was suspended, Roy, he went out of his way at the beginning of training camp to say Ryan Fitzpatrick is our guy, okay? He's our guy. Didn't mention Ryan Griffin, kind of poo-pooed that whole competition idea. Then subsequently in the following weeks, when he was asked about Ryan Fitzpatrick and the confidence he had in him, would say, guys, basically paraphrasing him, he's our guy. I don't know why you're asking me this, okay? Kept saying that over and over and over again. And that was before the Fitzmagic, Roy. Then we had the Fitzmagic the first 3 games, and I know it wasn't all Fitzmagic in the 3rd game, but still there was Fitzmagic. So why is he backing off that now? Why not stay with the narrative that he's our guy when Jameis comes back?
Well, because there is a proven alternative. And Jameis Winston, again, let's go back to the end of last season, which was a kind of an injury-marred season for him. Let's not forget that when he came back from that injury and finally was healthy again, those last 5 games, he had a 90.4 or 90.7 passer rating for those last 5 games. More touchdowns than interceptions, average about 360, 70 yards a clip per game there. He looked really good. He looked like he'd taken a big step forward. So there is viable alternative, someone who's played in the league, who's led this team, who's well respected in the clubhouse, in the locker room, a guy who you've basically hitched your wagon to and said he's our quarterback of the future. But the only thing the thing that trumps that is this: you're 2-1 with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Obviously, jobs are on the line. You cannot afford to play games here. You go with the hot hand. You go with the guy that's playing the best football of his career and the best football on your team. At the end of the day, you go with the guy who you think gives you the best chance to win. And right now, there's no question that's Ryan Fitzpatrick.
All right, Ryan Fitzpatrick met the media on Thursday and had a lot of interesting things to say. Let's get to some sound from Ryan Fitzpatrick, beginning with the whole quarterback question. How is that going to affect team chemistry, all of this quarterback drama?
We have a great locker room. We've got a bunch of unselfish guys, and I think that's important. I think communication is probably the most important thing in situations like this, and just making sure that everything is out there and open, and you're honest. And with that, I think everybody can respect that.
Speaking of the locker room, the one guy who has really been vocal about Ryan Fitzpatrick has been DeSean Jackson in terms of playing the hot hand, staying with the hot hand. But he was asked, everybody's being very politically correct. I asked Ali Marpet yesterday in the locker room, has he been told who's going to be the starting quarterback? A rhetorical question, obviously. And he basically said, yeah, Dirk's mentioned it. Code for, I'm not telling you, media boy. So DeSean Jackson, here's what he had to say when asked about the quarterback situation.
At the end of the day, whoever's back there, whoever's throwing the ball, we'll just, do our job. I think everyone collectively doing their job is what makes it special. So, whoever gets their number called, whoever it is, go out there and just, continue to make plays and win games. That's all that really matters.
All right. We have DeSean Jackson talking about that. Let's go to Ryan Fitzpatrick once again. If he is benched by Dirk Cutter, how will that affect things?
I have all the respect in the world for Coach Cutter, and I think every decision that he makes is based on the best thing for the team. And so for him, he's open, he's honest. I respect him. I think he respects me. He respects the guys on the team, and he has all of our respect. So as long as you have those qualities, and we know that he has the team first in his mind, then it's not hard to be a team player.
Everybody's saying the right things, Roy, right now.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I think it's also because I think Dirk made it very clear in a meeting, whether it be Tuesday or Wednesday, with the team, that what his plan was and why. And one thing that the coach has to keep in mind here is, you have to look at other positions and other players as well. Let's say, for example, right now, Ali Marpet is playing extremely good at left guard. Let's take that, for example. If the Bucs were suddenly to go, you know what, we're going to just put Evan Smith in there just because we like Evan Smith a lot, people would start to wonder, what are we doing here? You don't take the players who have earned the opportunity. Ryan Fitzpatrick has earned this opportunity on merit. It's not just because Jameis Winston was gone for 3 weeks. He's earned it on merit. And if you start playing favorites because somebody's got a bigger contract, younger player, future of the team, blah, 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 then all of a sudden the message is, well, winning may not be our number one priority. We're more about developing young players than we are winning games right now. And that's the quickest way to lose respect in the locker room and lose the locker room, because the thinking then of the player who gets benched and his buddies, by the way, and other people on the team is, well, hey, if I'm not in the future plans here, and we've all seen this happen in every sport at every level. If I'm not part of the future here, well, then, why am I even bothering? And, we've seen guys who are playing good football get benched in cities. We've seen, good baseball players get benched because they're not part of what we're going to be doing a year from now or 2 years from now. And if that were to happen now, the message would be that we're not in this to win right now. We're in this to develop or do something else. The objective is something other than winning. And if that becomes the feeling of the players in the locker room, then you start to lose those players. You can't do that. You got to have everybody all in, pulling on the same rope in the same direction. And in order to do that, players earn their positions on merit, not based on contract, not based on how old they are, what you think of them, whether you like them or not. The time will come naturally, organically, as they like to say nowadays, when Jameis Winston will get the opportunity to step back in as the starter. And hopefully he does as well as Ryan Fitzpatrick. But you've got to let that happen organically. You can't force that.
Organically, I could not agree more. That's a perfect word to describe the situation right now with Jameis Winston. Speaking of Jameis Winston, he met the media this week as well and was asked a lot of questions. And one of them was, how hard is it going to be for him to wait possibly not a week, but maybe a few weeks, or maybe even more than that, to step in for Ryan Fitzpatrick? And this is what he had to say.
I'm here to assist the best way I possibly can. My passion for this team, my love for this team goes beyond of where I'm out there throwing the football for this team or not. Like I said, it's my first day back. Let me enjoy that before I start answering any more questions about that, man.
I thought Jameis handled himself a lot better than when he had the press conference to begin training camp coming off the 3-game suspension. But here's the thing, Roy, and I don't know if you agree with me on this. I'm tired of analyzing Jameis Winston press conferences. I want to analyze Jameis Winston's continued growth off the field, if he can stay out of trouble for a year, 2 years, 3 years. And I want to see if he's a better quarterback when he's on the field. And I'm hearing some people, whether it's fans or people in the media, oh, boy, he really seems to have changed. You know what? You have no idea if he's changed. You don't know that. He's going to have an extended pattern of behavior on the field and off the field moving forward here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that 100%. Yeah, I'm kind of tired. At this point, it's like, show me, Jameis. Just show me. You've broken the trust. Don't know whether we can trust you anymore or not. I still love you as a quarterback. Still believe in you as a quarterback. Still like you as the person I know, the person that I've dealt with. Still respect you in every way. But I've got to see that you can stay out of trouble and be the face of the franchise again, and in essence, win your job back. I mean, he won the job based on what he did in college and how he performed in training camp that first year, and now he's got to go out and do it again. And I don't think this is a bad thing for him. And I think he's being very genuine also when he says, "I'll do whatever for this team. I really will." And I think I say that because I remember back in college when he was suspended for his actions in the student union when he got suspended for that one game. He was right there on the sidelines coaching up the next quarterback in line and right there. And even though his coach didn't really want him there, he said, "No, I'm going to be there. This is my team, and I'm going to be there." That's who he is. That's who Jameis Winston is. He is genuine. And I think, I think he means it. Is he going to be happy about it if this goes on for another month? No, he's not. He's going to be very concerned. But at the end of the day, I think he's also man enough to know that he put this on himself. And these are part of the consequences, that nothing in this league is guaranteed. This is not a right, it's a privilege. And you can lose the privilege real quickly. And I think I think he's still learning that lesson now as a result of what's happened, because now it's not just a matter of missing 3 games. Now you're missing a 4th game because guess what? Somebody who nobody ever thought would be able to do it stepped up and took your job. And if he can do it, somebody else can do it.
Roy, I don't know how genuine he is, though. I really don't. I think he's he's the kind of guy that wants to please people. He wants to please his coaches. He wants to please his teammates. But he sticks to the talking points. One of them is, I'm a different guy. That was 2.5 years ago. He brought that up again this week. Well, no, Jameis, less than a year ago, you lied about everything, and you got right behind that podium, and you were adamant that you didn't do anything wrong. You put into question the female driver and her credibility. So I have a big problem with that. I have a big problem with his credibility, and I'm not a cynical person, but I also wonder, what are the things we don't know about with Jameis Winston? I hope there aren't a lot of things. I hope this was an isolated deal. But the fact that guy lied and thought he was just going to get away with it by lying makes me wonder, A, he's an entitled guy, and B, how many times has he done that to get away with things in his life?
Well, I think that's part of the culture of big-time college football. Number 1 draft pick worthy player, face of the franchise type people. I think they do develop kind of a Teflon belief that everything will fall off of me, that I can get away with anything. But they sometimes learn the hard way that's not the case. So I see what you're saying, and I think the thing I'm most disappointed in is, I think I hope that he learned that lying about it is not the answer. That the truth is all. But again, maybe what, for all we know, he didn't even remember that night. Who knows? It sounds like he was pretty drunk. So. But at the
if you didn't remember it, then don't lie about it. I mean, that's even
right. Yeah, and that's the problem I have, is that he lied about it. But I still. But again, look, he's 23 years old. This is a kid who's still maturing, and yes, I think part of that is he's still maturing, and yes, I think he still maybe leans towards what you said, lying about things, because he's so used to getting things his way. I think the message to him has long been, doesn't matter what you do, man, you're going to be okay. They'll never hang you. It'll never happen. They'll never pin this on you. And I think that he believes it, because he's always been favored in that way. And now for the first time, he's not. And I think hopefully he's learned a big lesson from it this time.
Well, he's 24, but here are the other facts. Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield are younger than Jameis Winston. You don't see them doing stuff like this. I mean, at some point, the guy's got to grow up, and he's got to have these press conferences where he's all smiles. I'm happy to be back. I love my team. I put simulated workouts together. I catered for them. Jameis, I don't care about any of that. I don't. That's great that you do all that, but you've done it the last couple of years, and I don't know. I just don't have a lot of faith in him, maybe as much as you, Roy. I don't wish anything bad on people. I hope he learns from all this, but I'm extremely skeptical right now. Let's get to the relationship between Jameis and Ryan Fitzpatrick. First, Ryan Fitzpatrick, his comments on how he and Jameis have helped each other.
It's good to see him, and he's a guy that I really enjoyed working with and watching him work last year. And there's a lot of things that I think we can teach each other. A lot of things I learned from him, hopefully some things that he learned from me. But it's a good relationship, and we have fun together.
And here's Jameis Winston on watching Ryan Fitzpatrick do his thing without him as the starter of the first 3 weeks, and basically his respect for his veteran backup quarterback who's now the starter.
I mean, I practice with him every single day. This guy hasn't been playing in this league for 14 years for any reason. I mean, plus, when you add the weapons that we have outside, when you add our intense, the hardest worker in our building is the offensive line. And when they're protecting the way that they are, you can do nothing else but go out there and light it up, man. So I'm excited for Fitz, and I'm excited as a whole. As a team, we're playing very good. And like I said, man, I'm happy to be back in the building, and we just got to keep it up.
What I found interesting, Roy, in Jameis's press conference this week is he went out of his way to say he's happy for the team. He went out of his way to praise Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he gave him credit for that. But every time he praised Ryan Fitzpatrick, he would say, but boy, he's got a great offensive line. But boy, he's got a lot of weapons. It was almost like he's been sitting back thinking, man, I want to play with those guys. I want to play with all those weapons. That's kind of what I heard in his press conference in a lot of ways, and you can't blame him, I guess.
No, you can't, and it's a good catch by you on that. And I look, he's probably a little envious, and he should be. He's probably thinking, if I'd have had that offensive line last year, maybe I wouldn't have gotten hurt, and maybe I'd have gone to the Pro Bowl or something. But no, I think that's just I think he's a little envious, but yeah, I think the respect for each other there is definitely genuine between Ryan Fitzpatrick and Jameis Winston. Ryan Fitzpatrick, we know, is a guy who says, what have I got to lose? It's all gravy for me. I've had my career. I'd love to still do some things, and if I get the chance, it'll be great. If I don't, I'm going to be very happy with what I've done. And Jameis Winston, I think, is a guy who he loves being coached. He loves being taught things. He doesn't mind being coached hard, and I think he genuinely appreciates having a guy. First it was Josh McCown. Now it's Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think he genuinely appreciates guys. He has such respect for the position and for the league and for people who've been in the league ahead of him that I think he honestly appreciates the fact that he's got a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick who's been through so much. so much more than Jameis Winston might ever go through, because he's been a starter, he's been a backup, he's been on winning teams, he's been on horrible losing teams, he's been responsible for horrible losing teams, been responsible for taking teams to the playoffs. He's been through it all. He's been, king of the hill and a guy that everybody wants to, dump in the river. So I think Jameis knows that and looks at it and says, here's a guy who's, basically run the gamut of what quarterbacks go through in this league. And every time I have an issue, I can turn to him and say, hey, how did you handle this? What do I do here? My guess is he probably even, sought out Ryan Fitzpatrick and say, hey, man, what do I do during these 3 weeks when I'm not doing anything, when I can't play with, what do I do? Even though you've never been there, what do I do? And my guess is he probably listened to whatever he had to say.
Roy, you had 8 different Buccaneers catch a pass from Ryan Fitzpatrick. And if you look at Adam Humphries, Cam Brate, DeSean Jackson, O.J. Howard, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, they combined for 23 catches. So the football's spreading all around this offense. How do the wide receivers feel about that? We asked DeSean Jackson.
It just shows to the work we put in all season. Them guys worked hard to, put ourselves in a great position to take advantage of opportunities. And, once our players are getting called, everyone's making their play. So it's an exciting thing to have a group of guys that's able to go out there and compete and play good together.
What do you think of that, Roy? I think, one thing I'll say is you've covered this football team for a long time. And I remember Mike Evans said this in training camp. This is the most talented team he has seen since they've been there. And you go in the locker room, obviously everybody's looser. The music's playing, they're shooting hoops, they're playing ping pong more when they're winning. But it seems like the best chemistry I've seen in this Bucs team in some time.
Well, I think you're right. And I think one of the reasons for that is that they're all very confident that this is a team that's a lot better than its record indicated a year ago, and that they're ready to do something special. And it's interesting. I think the important thing is you don't have a diva here anywhere. You don't have a diva at running back. You don't have a diva at quarterback. You don't even have a diva at wide receiver. DeSean Jackson was humbled last year. Arguably, one of his worst seasons of his career. And he was partially responsible for that because he, didn't show up on time and didn't hang out during OTAs and get to know his teammates and his quarterbacks. Mike Evans is not that guy. When Mike Evans tells you, I don't care if I catch any passes, as long as we win, he means it. And he knows he's going to get his 1,000 yards at the end of the day. Chris Godwin is a kid trying to make it. Adam Humphries is just glad to be here. And sometimes probably can't believe the success he's had. O.J. Howard knows he's gonna be a stud in this league. You look at Cameron Brate. He's another guy who says, "Hey, I'm just lucky to be here, but I'm a pretty darn good football player." And the other thing is they're all competing with each other, but in a good way. And I think that everyone's being pushed. I think Todd Monken has made it clear to these guys that, hey, if you think you're the best receiver on this team, go out and show it, and show it on Sunday. Show it in practice, and then show it on Sunday. Because guess what? If you're not, the guy next to you or the guy three levels below you on the roster is going to get the chance to do it, and he's going to prove. Because guess what? The 5th guy on this roster, on this receiving core, is as good as the 1st. I can tell you that right now. And if you think you're the best, well, you better just show it every day. And I think that healthy competition is making these guys. I think it's really helped them. And in terms of the chemistry, I think you just got a bunch of guys that really like each other and respect each other. And I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, that's great perspective. Ryan Fitzpatrick was asked today about his, growing legend of Fitzmagic, and he admitted, taking the family to Chick-fil-A, more people are noticing him, more people are coming up for pictures and just to talk. But he seems to have been has an appeal to the common man, just a guy who's paid his dues, a guy who's not flashy at all, who doesn't take himself too seriously. Speaking to DeSean Jackson, the whole post game and the Philadelphia Eagles game. And Ryan Fitzpatrick addressed his connection to the fans with everything that's going on so far in the first 3 games.
And I just try to be the same person every day, other than those 2 seconds after a touchdown. Normally I'm fairly calm and just try to go about my business, being a good teammate, good husband, good father, good friend, good coach, whatever it is when I'm out in the community. And everywhere we've lived, we've kind of integrated ourselves nicely into each community and getting involved and with different sports and school activities. And so, I don't know, it's just who I am.
He is what he is, isn't he? I mean, he doesn't give you a lot of flash, but it's very easy to like this guy.
Well, it is, and I think one of the things that is so appealing about him is that he's so much different than a lot of the other quarterbacks, players in this league. This is a guy like your neighbor. He gets up early in the morning, goes to work, works hard every day, comes home, hopefully before the sun goes down, and plays with his kids. He's a good family man. He's got 6 kids. He's so clearly the family is first with him, and I think there's just a lot of respect for that. That he's the everyman who just happens to be a good quarterback in the NFL, and I think that comes out of him, and you don't see that with a lot of other players around the NFL. You just don't. You can't name too many guys who are because first of all, a lot of them are very young, but he's relatable. He's relatable to everybody, and it's hard not to respect a guy, who lives his life the way he does, and just kind of survives the way he does as well in a league where usually you're gone if you don't play a good game the past Sunday, and he survived, and he's really done a good job with his career, and he keeps hanging in there, and the fact that he's playing so well is kind of like the cherry on top of the sundae.
No doubt about it. Well, listen, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Chicago Bears with all this quarterback jibber jabber that we've had to deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's really a good matchup when you look at it, Roy. I mean, the Bears defense against the Bucs offense, and then you have the Bears offense, which is going to be challenged to put up points that the Bucs offense has been putting up the first 3 weeks of the season. What do you make of this matchup? I think it's a really intriguing game.
Well, yeah, it is. You've got one of the best offenses in the league right now going up against, I say best. One of the hottest offenses in the league right now going up against one of the hottest defenses. And so it's a classic matchup. It's fastball pitcher against fastball hitter. It's a fun one to watch. And to me, it's another test to the Buccaneers. How legit is this offense? How legit is Ryan Fitzpatrick? How good is that offensive line really? They got a little bit of a wake-up call last week against the Steelers, and lo and behold, here comes the best pass rush in the NFL right now, and led by Khalil Mack. So look out. This is going to be the biggest test of that O-line, probably of Ryan Fitzpatrick, maybe even the receivers. I think to me, it's a good test of the defense. This is a game where the Bucs should be able to go out defensively and do what Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks and John Lynch and Ronnie Barber used to say in the old days, which in essence was, give us 17 points and we'll take care of the rest. I don't think this game turns out quite like that, but this is a game where the defense has to take that mentality into it and say, you give us 17, we'll take care of the rest, because it's Mitch Trubisky, who's not Carson Wentz. He's not Pat Mahomes. He's just on a level below that right now. I would say he's not even Jameis Winston. And it's a team that the defense should have a good day, and the offense, well, they may have to take a back seat to the defense in this one. This one might have to be won by defense and special teams. But so that's what makes it intriguing. That hot offense may not be the most potent part of the Bucs. It may not be what decides this game for the Bucs. Let's put it that way.
No doubt about it. Well, listen, we're a half hour in the podcast. If you're just checking us out here on A Few Extra Bucs, we like to have fun down the stretch. And you know what time that is, Justin Thomas. Yeah, baby. 3 and out. 3 questions for Roy Cummings and Justin Thomas.
A Billy Joel song to me.
Oh. You know what? Billy Joel. We're going to get to that in just a second. But by the way, you're one of the few human beings I know who loves The Bachelorette and hates Billy Joel. Come on.
But I like Elton John.
I like Elton John too. I don't hate Elton John. I think they're both great.
That's pretty good. Who likes The Bachelorette but doesn't like Billy Joel? I've never.
That's your new Twitter profile.
I don't know what it says about me, but yeah, I'll have to own that for sure.
Oh my goodness! At least you like Michael McDonald. Oh wait. Oh, Bob Seger. Oh wait.
No. Sorry. I can do without the Doobie Brothers with Michael McDonald. The Doobie Brothers before, take them all day long.
I can't wait to buy your Christmas presents this year. It's going to be a lot of fun, my friend, because I know so much more about you.
All right, you'll learn this right now. You know what's number one on my Christmas list? I want all the listeners to know this, because if you'd like to, go out and get me a present, here you go.
I have no idea what's coming here, by the way.
The 50th anniversary edition 6 CD box set of the Beatles' White Album is coming out. And that's number one on the list right there.
Wow. I thought you were going to say like a House of Brews gift card or something like that. I didn't know.
By the way, perfect stocking stuffer. And I mean that. Perfect stocking stuffer. And now you got to start thinking about it. I mean, you go into stores around town, and already Christmas ornaments and stuff and are out there for sale. Trees are up in some places in the stores. They're ready for it. They're not going to wait until Halloween. So you start thinking about those stocking stuffers. In fact, House of Brews gift cards might not be a bad thing to give out on Halloween.
Hey, I like that. I may dress up like a Sea Dog for a Sea Dog Brewing.
That's a heck of an idea.
I hope our sponsors are listening, because we're giving them quality plugs here. All right, 3 and out. Our first question: if you could bring one of these guys back, and only one, to not only play this Sunday but to play well, would it be Vita Vea or Ronald Jones?
You know what? I'm going to take Ronald Jones, because this week, more than any other week, I think the Bucs are going to need a running game to slow down that pass rush, make those play action fakes work. So I'm picking Ronald Jones for this one. I think the Bucs need to run the ball better. This is a game where I think they have to try to emphasize the run a little bit more, because it's going to be tough, no matter who the quarterback is, to stand in there for those, whatever it is, 2.8, 3.2 seconds, and look downfield and execute this offense the way it's designed. This is a tough one. To me, a good game plan would be to run the ball a little bit more than they have, and I think they would need Ronald Jones for that, just because Peyton Barber hasn't quite shown us in the regular season what we saw in the preseason. Not that can't change, but if Ronald Jones could come out and hit a home run for you, that'd be nice.
Yeah, Bo Allen looks like he's still banged up, so it'd be good to have Vita Vea in there. But I think I think that's why it's a tough question. I would rather have Ronald Jones as well, because, boy, if this guy could really turn it around for the Bucs, it would really be fun to watch this offense with the running game. All kinds of possibilities moving forward. Okay, I'm going to do a kind of a game within a game here, Roy. A little kind of a rapid fire thing for you, all right?
Okay.
In the NFC, I'm going to play a little pretender contender. Okay. Pretender contender. In the NFC, you have the Rams that have been the class so far, the only undefeated team remaining at 3-0. And boy, they've looked good, but they have some injuries. Aqib Talib kind of hurts their cause a little bit. We'll see how they are moving forward. So they're the class of the NFC so far, but you have 6 2-1 teams. Okay. I'm going to name you the teams, and you say contender or pretender. Okay. The Philadelphia Eagles.
Contender. They still have most of the pieces left from last year's Super Bowl team. Carson Wentz looks like he didn't miss anything by being hurt last year. He came back very strong in that first game. I think they're a well-coached team. They're a contender for sure, especially in the ultra-weak NFC East.
It's unbelievable how bad the Cowboys still are. It's just amazing.
And the Giants can't get out of their own way. And then you got the Redskins. Any team run by Bruce Allen, it's just a disaster. So I don't know why anybody employs that guy, but at the end of the day, they do. So.
Well, that was my next team, the Redskins. So I guess I have your answer.
A pretender with a capital P.
Okay. All right, your Chicago Bears.
By the way, you know why the Redskins are a pretender? Because Bruce Allen is a pretend general manager and a pretend executive in the NFL.
That is your guy, Bruce Allen.
He should have stuck with being an agent. He would have been a lot better off. He wouldn't have destroyed a couple of football teams the way he destroyed the Bucs for a while and the way he's destroyed the Redskins. So anyway, next.
Justin, one of Roy's most enjoyable experiences as a reporter was covering a Bruce Allen pre-draft press conference.
Covering anything Bruce Allen was involved with.
Be envious, my friend.
Right. Very envious of the job he has. I don't know how it's happened.
All right, Chicago Bears.
I say they're a contender, and here's why. I'm a little concerned about the Lions in the division. A little concerned about the Vikings in the division. The Packers, they're one. If Aaron Rodgers goes down, they're done. I believe in defense. It still wins in this league, and I think they might have the best defense in the NFL. One of them, certainly. The Bears are a contender, and that's why I think this game against the Bucs is a big test for Tampa Bay. To me, it's another. The Bucs still have to prove themselves, and I think this is kind of one of those games where they get that chance.
Carolina Panthers.
I'm going to say they're a contender because I don't think there's a weak team in the NFC South. I really don't, and I think Carolina is better than a lot of people give them credit for. I've always liked their coach. Ron Rivera's good. Cam Newton, I think, is getting better. I don't think he's ever going to be, the Cam Newton that everybody wants him to be, that MVP. I don't think he's ever going to reach that level again and be consistent that way. But I think they've got enough weapons throughout that team to make it work. And you know what? They're kind of like perfectly situated. Weather-wise, they're never going to have to play in scorching, ridiculous heat that affects them. It's never going to be ridiculously cold for them. And then when they go on the road for two of their division games, they're always indoors. So I think they have a lot of things going for them that are intangibles, and I think the talent is just good enough. They're definitely a contender. They'll be there at the end, knocking on the door.
New Orleans Saints.
Pretender.
Oh! You love just taking.
Pretender.
You love stirring the pot.
Here's why: 7-9 for 3 years under your boy there, Peyton, and I still believe in Drew Brees. No doubt about that. I believe in Alvin Kamara.
Like Matt Ryan better. That's okay though.
But I don't think there's enough talent. I think they've got some of the best players in the game at their position. Brees, Kamara, Cameron Jordan. But I just think that as a whole, they're not as strong as Atlanta, maybe not as strong as Tampa Bay, and probably not as strong as Carolina. I'm going to say they're a pretender. They could still go 8-8, but I don't think they'll be a playoff team.
That Michael Thomas guy's not bad. They get Mark Ingram back soon. Just saying.
Yeah, I hear you. Like I said, they've got some of the better players at their position in the league. The problem is I don't think they have the depth, and I don't think they have the rest. I think they're a team that you look at them and you talk about Brees, Kamara, Thomas, Cameron Jordan, a couple others, and you say, wow, look at that. But then you look at the next level, and it's like, oh, yeah, all right, well, that's not special.
All right, so your last one, 6-2-1 teams in the NFC, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They are contenders.
Wow.
They are contenders because I still don't think the defense has gotten has found its footing yet. At least we better hope so. And I think they've got two very good quarterbacks. And look, the bottom line is no team in the NFL has the offensive weapons that the Buccaneers have. No team. No team has their depth at receiver, their depth at tight end. The running game, I think, is going to come around. I think the offensive line is going to be better. They're going to be a different Buccaneers team than we're used to seeing. This is going to be a team that's going to probably be carried by the offense. The defense is going to have to hang on. It's tough to play defense in the NFL anyway. But I think, look, they've already beaten one of those NFC South teams on the road. They get them at home. I think they're capable of winning in Atlanta. I think they're a contender. I really do.
I agree with you on everything except the Saints. I think it's amazing to me how good the NFC South is. This is one of the best divisions we've seen in recent memory in the NFL. I think the Falcons are pretenders, and I thought they were my Super Bowl pick before the year. So many injuries though on defense. I think that's really going to hurt them. So I think the Bucs, the Saints, and the Panthers could all make the playoffs. How about that in the NFC South?
I wouldn't disagree. I guess the bad thing is one of those teams is not going to make the playoffs. And which one is it going to be? You can toss a coin in the air, and you got a better chance of picking it that way.
Exactly. All right. Last week we bring Justin Thomas back in. I was cornered because I picked Billy Joel over Elton John. We like to do pop culture for our last question in our 3 and Out. I got hammered, but then I did kind of an informal poll on Twitter, and it was 9 out of 10 for the Piano Man. Just saying. But here's the pop culture one this week. Okay. And I'm going to bring Justin in here first so maybe Roy can think about this. Who's your favorite actor? Who has the best body of work? However you want to look at it. Who has the best body of work? We'll say that. Robert De Niro or Al Pacino?
All right, I've been thinking about this because I knew this question was coming.
That's why I want to give Roy time.
I'll try and stall as long as I can, Roy, because it's a tough question. I still don't know if I can give a definitive answer. I think I'm leaning Robert De Niro. I think when I think of all the movies I've seen between the two, I tend to like more Robert De Niro movies.
Roy?
All right. I'm going to preface this by saying this. Robert De Niro has, because he's got his own company and he's trying to build up I guess it's a production company. I don't know all the details, so I might be getting something wrong, but he's got his own film company now, and he's basically willing to do in fact, if Mike, if you and I and Justin put together a script right now and send it to Justin and do it. So he's become a little bit like the Rolling Stones, where he's out there a little bit too much, doing a little bit too many things. He's not box office gold anymore. But I'll say this about Robert De Niro. He's more wide-ranging than Pacino. And therefore I take De Niro in this because I think he can do more. He can be the tough guy in Goodfellas or the tough guy in Casino. And then he can be, Mr. Fokker in Meet the Parents. Or he can be, not Mr. Fokker, but, he can be the guy in Meet the Parents. Or he can be the guy in The Intern. He can he can play that light role and make it work. I don't see Pacino doing that. And De Niro. Look, you talk about who probably had the best, who probably played their role the best. I just might have to take De Niro in Raging Bull, man. It doesn't get much better.
That's a great movie.
We're not Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith here, but this is not staged. I don't want to disagree with you every time, but I'm going to have to agree with you this time. Now, I will say this. I thought Al Pacino's best movie is one of my favorite movies. In my opinion, it was Scent of a Woman. I thought that was a great movie, one of my all-time favorites. Hoo-ah! But Robert De Niro, to me, for everything you said, I agree with. And I will say one of his best movies, I don't know if this is going to strike a chord with you guys, Midnight Run, he and Charles Grodin. Fantastic. One of my all-time favorites.
A classic. If you haven't, a cult classic. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Some of the best. If you're a movie line guy, and we don't do a lot of that here, or we haven't up to this point, that movie's full of movie lines. It's just it's nothing but one line after another. You're right. Midnight Run is exceptional. And you know what we didn't mention, guys? The Deer Hunter.
What? Oh, I forgot about that, but that's a great movie
Deer Hunter
too.
And here's the thing with Pacino. Every time I think of Pacino and I think of his acting career, obviously, you think of The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2, and then you think about The Godfather Part 3, and then you think about Devil's Advocate, and you say, God, what a goof. I mean, to me, that's how I see it. So, and by the way, how good was De Niro in Godfather Part 2? I mean, he was tremendous.
Yeah. Plus, Al Pacino loses a lot of points for being in an Adam Sandler movie.
Yes,
too.
I agree. Although maybe what? Maybe that's where De Niro draws the line. I won't do an Adam Sandler movie.
Adam Sandler, to me, and we can get into this down the road, is one of the most overrated people ever in terms of making a lot of money. I don't think he's funny. I think some of the stuff on Saturday Night Live was funny, but his movies, I don't like any of his movies.
I'm with you 100%. I think.
Are we agreeing this week? Oh my God!
Look, Adam Sandler. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't find any of his stuff funny. His best movie, in my opinion, was 50 First Dates, because he had to play it fairly straight. He wasn't playing an idiot. And by the way, his idiot's always the same idiot. So, look, I'm with you. I don't find Adam Sandler funny. He did some cute things on Saturday Night Live. I'm not watching Adam Sandler movies. I just can't waste my time and money.
He, along with Jim Rome, they're all on my overrated list. We'll have to come up with an overrated list of just people that just have made a ton of money, and I don't get it. But you know what? That was a good debate. Guys, I enjoyed it. Justin, did we leave anything out?
Well, I was going to say for a good compromise between DeNiro and Pacino, if no one's seen it, everyone should see Heat. They both show up in that movie, and that is an excellent movie where both of them are excellent in it.
Good point, Justin.
I have not seen that. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
Roy?
I did, and I would have been a little more excited about that claim had I liked the movie. I don't like the movie.
I like the movie.
Problem I have, and I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't seen it, or for you, Mike, but it just and something. And look, when you go to the movies, you have to, you are setting realism aside just a little bit most of the time. But at the end of the day, this one lost me. In the penultimate scene, where the showdown comes, and it's like on the streets of L.A. And oh yeah, this is going on the streets of L.A. You know what I mean, there, Justin? I
think that's one of the best shootout scenes ever recorded.
And it never would happen in real life. It never would even come close to happening in real life.
You got to turn off your brain and just enjoy it.
But they wanted my brain to be engaged all the way through. It wasn't James Bond. They wanted my brain to be engaged all the way through, and then at the end, I'm supposed to buy into this. I can't do it.
Folks, if you're still listening at this point of the podcast, let's all give them a round of applause.
We gained listeners when we went to this segment, man.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I think maybe if we see a graph of our analytics next month, 3 and out will go through the friggin' roof. Well, listen, guys, last thing, predictions for Roy was the only one that nailed the prediction. He predicted Steelers last week. Justin, what do you think, Bears, Bucks?
Well, first I want to say Roy was correct in picking the Steelers to win, but I think I came closest on the score. I just had the team swapped. But for this week,
that's kind of a technicality, Justin.
No, hey, I'll take anything I can get. But this week I think the key factor is what Bears offense is going to show up, and if it's the offense that's been struggling lately, I don't know. This is a tough one for me. I think Bears are going to pull off a close win.
What you got?
I'm going to keep it low scoring. Let's go 20-17.
Okay, I'm writing them down this week. Roy, what you got?
Justin and I are in agreement here. I think that defense does a number on the Bucs, the Chicago defense, I mean. And I think the Bucs defense is just a little bit too banged up to really, even hold the somewhat struggling Bears at bay. Bears 23, Buccaneers 18.
Does Jameis Winston see the field?
No.
Only if he's hurt. I mean, only if Fitzpatrick gets hurt.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
He sees the field a week later.
Yeah. They benefit that they're going up to Chicago in the month of September. That's good for this football team that they're not going in late November, December. That they have that going for them. But yeah, I don't know. Something just does not feel good about this game. And the Bears defense was good anyway. Then they get Khalil Mack, and they're animals over there. I mean, it's unbelievable how good they can be. And they're only going to get better every week too. I believe that. And I think the offense for the Bears is going to get a little bit better too. And I agree with Roy. That secondary for the Bucs scares me to death right now with all the injuries and all the inexperience. I think the Bucs lose this game. I'm going to say a low-scoring game, 20 kind of mid-range, I guess. I'm going to say 24-21, game-winning field goal by the Bears.
Oh, there you go. Even closer than I thought. So, yeah.
So, all right, we'll compare notes next time around. But, guys, I appreciate it. I'd like to thank Justin Thomas. I'd like to thank Roy Cummings, Robert DeNiro, Al Pacino. And remember, last week we have to thank Billy Joel and Elton John. And if you want to contribute to that poll, it's on pewterpirates.com. We've had some interesting feedback on that. So check out and weigh in on, is it Billy Joel or Elton John? So we like to mix everything in here on pewterpirates.com. Appreciate our title sponsors, House of Brews and Sea Dog Brewing Company. And remember, subscribe to pewterpirates.com, everybody. It's free. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. That's another rendition of A Few Extra Bucks. We'll see you next time.